Hello, everyone. Namaste, and a very good morning to everyone who's joined us today. I welcome you all to the weekly episodes of Dialogue with Educationists. So, after a long break, all of us are back to have exciting conversations with educationists, leaders, parents, students on very exciting topics. And today we've chosen a very dynamic topic, which is should homeschooling be encouraged or not? We had a very wide variety of panels, and I will not jump into the topic and give you any brief. I would let the moderator and the panelists let decide. So I'll just introduce the panel to you today. So we have Mr. Shrutidhar Paliwal, who's the CEO of Farmtix Holdings AB, which is in Sweden. We have Mrs. Arpita Mehta. She's a food stylist, consultant, and a content builder. They are parents to a homeschooler. We have Miss Priyal Sarda. She's the student. She's one of our students of the Young Entrepreneurs classroom, and she's a homeschooler as well. We have a father with her, Mr. Gaurav Sarda. He's the head product management for GapTech India. And we have Mr. Shammi Nanda. He's the founder director of Ahimsagram. Right. And lastly, we have Mr. Pavan Allena, who's the founder and CEO of Metamorphosis Edu, and he'll be moderating the panel for us. So once again, I would like to welcome all of you to take out some time on a Sunday morning and discuss this topic with us for the audience, which is a mix of parents, students, school leaders, educationists, and a lot more of them. So before I begin, some guidelines to the viewers and the panelists. If you have any questions, I would request you to put it in the Q&A section at the bottom. And strictly only questions to be put. Any other conversations can happen on the chat box. So let's start off today's session. Hand it over to you, Mr. Pavan.
Thank you, Disha. Very good morning. I think today's topic, should homeschooling be encouraged? This topic, while we were actually brainstorming, we've been taking a lot of interviews with the students for our School of Entrepreneurship. While we are actually, interviewing a lot of students, when we ask them, which school are you from? I've heard, about 5% of the students, they're saying that, I'm a homeschooler. Or, the parents are also saying that, we send our kids, they're doing their own self-learnings. So then I thought, since there are a lot of principals and also, school educationalists, when we actually interact, when we talk about the homeschooling, they have different perceptions, the parents have different perceptions, and also the students have different perceptions. I wanted to bring everyone on a common ground, and we wanted to, discuss on this topic and, share a few insights for all the parents here, and also the principals out here, and also the students. So I'm very glad to have you all on this panel. Once again, welcome you all to our Metamorphosis webisode sessions. In the first round of our discussions, let us quickly introduce about ourselves, and also we'll also talk about what is homeschooling. In fact, first let us come to a common ground and share the insights about what is homeschooling. First, let us start with Priyal. Hi, Priyal. Good morning.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. So, Priyal, so before you introduce about yourself, so I wanted to know, how was your last 6 months of the journey? How was this COVID journey for you?
I just had a lot of learning, so it was just amazing for me. I took part in a global case competition also, where we had to solve a case that was given to us. And I've also completed one of my certifications of Python programming on Coursera and on Tinker.
Okay.
And yeah, and I also started teaching teaching 6th to 10th graders Python programming. So
All right. Started teaching the kids as well. So about coding. All right. All
yeah.
right.
And I've also completed one certification from Triple IT
Okay.
about learning how to teach.
So why all of a sudden this year? What pushed you? Because you are in 10th grade. I thought you'd be rather focusing on your exams, but why so much of learning, certifications, and teaching? Why suddenly this year?
So I thought because this is like this is a COVID year, right? So people are focusing more on the technology learning side, or parents are trying to teach their children about technology and then programming and stuff. So my parents already used to teach kids, but kids used to come home and they used to learn Python programming for my parents, and also SQL. But because of this COVID, because of this pandemic, we couldn't, kids could not come home. So that's why we started online. So that's why I started teaching online. And then to teach properly and to teach effectively and to make my course properly, I took a certification from Triple IT, where they taught us how to interact with students properly and all
Yeah.
that.
So, I mean, again, I'll get back to you, but what I understood was last 6 months was very effective for you because you've been learning technology, you've been learning entrepreneurship from Metamorphosis, and also you've been
Yeah.
teaching the students. So you wore multiple hats during these last 6 months. I'll
Yeah.
just get back to you on that. But just to give a clarity, so when did you stop going to the school?
Uh, I started homeschooling in ninth grade.
In ninth
So
grade, last year.
yeah, so after my eighth grade exams, I just stopped going to school.
Okay, okay. I'll get back to you on what made you to, stop the school and why you've been doing this homeschooling. I think your father is also here. Gaurav sir, a very good morning. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. Thank you very much, Pavan.
Thank you, sir. So thank you. I mean, so what was your influence, sir, for the Priyal to start a lot of certification programs and also to take up that coding classes?
Yeah, so there are two things. One thing is coming from the kind of industry we are, it is very clear that the sort of education system that we have as in today is not going to suffice for 10 years down the line when they would be really in the market. Definitely that there's a big change required. And what they were teaching even about computer science and all a year or 2 years before is nowhere close to what is really required. So we started teaching our kids first on the coding, and not just about coding, about how to think and using coding as a mechanism to really start thinking of algorithmic way, learning from that. And their kids also, their friends also started coming to us and started taking those classes, and then we started teaching in school and all. Now the kids started loving it. I saw a definite difference in couple of things. The way they started thinking of a problem, breaking it into any kind of, even planning a party kind of stuff. The way their maths improved because the way their visualization improved. So those were some of those things that which was very visible. Now what happened in last 6 months is what she didn't mention is essentially a event that happened. We were basically for PM Care Fund, we were doing a donation for at name of me and my wife, and they came and they saw, okay, what you're doing, and then they said, what about at our name? I mean, the receipt came at me and my name. And I said, why? You should be doing something by yourself and doing it. And then both Priyal and her younger sister, they like talked for more than 1 or 2 days, and then came back, Papa, what if we, you used to teach coding, what if we start teaching it online? I said, okay, but we have to really convert this whole thing into online way. It's a lot of work. They worked, both of them worked for around 2 weeks to convert it into class by class. And for first two sessions, I sat with them. They started teaching for the fees, which they eventually donated for the cause of pandemic. So far, they have donated around 70,000 rupees for PM Care Fund and other kind of causes, all for the purpose of this. So they themselves earned. The younger one is in sixth grade. She was teaching third to fifth grade kids. The whole purpose was, my purpose was, okay, this is giving them excitement. They're learning how to communicate. When they started teaching, they themselves realized that what were the hitchups, what other person is not able to understand what they are trying to explain. They corrected their communication, they corrected their content, and all that stuff. So that is a kind of learning that we as a parent need to give them the environment which prepares them for future. It's not only about learning what is a formula in chemistry and what is those formulas that would be required to crack engineering college, those physics formulas and all. It's extremely important to help them understand to learn by themselves, have the right set of communications, and build that kind of habit.
Very interesting views, sir. I think we'll have a lot of perceptions towards this because not every student might be like Priyal who can actually pick it up the minute you ask. But I'm sure the way you have guided them and the way they've been working for a cause. I think that gives the kick for the student also because there is
Huge.
something that there is something tangible that they're also seeing that whatever they're earning, it's for a cause. So I think the vision has already been set for the students. I think that has guided them to go in a very aggressive way in the last 6 months. I also want to know the future plans and all. I'll get back to you in the second round of discussion. Thank you so much for your views, sir. Shrutidhar sir, hi, good morning. And you've been mentoring our students. You've been, seeing all our activities as well. But we never talked about, we never talked about your kids, right? We never talked about your kid, what they've been doing and all. So can you just give me a quick, introduction about, your kids, their schooling and all.
Yeah, so I have a daughter till about class 5. She used to go to a Montessori school in Juhu. And, I have not just about mentoring the young kids. I've been part of a system which used to mentor students of IT, of hardware, language, technology, beauty, and there was some kind of an animation and multimedia as the largest one. There was a constant, something like a dissonance about it. What are we really creating kids for? Is it just that one little job after class 12? Or is there something more to it? And it is in class 5 that Arpita and I, and along with the other family members, decided that it is better that she first unlearns whatever she's been really fed, and thereafter, it is very important to encourage the kid to start a vision for himself or herself. And while we are there to pitch in wherever or whenever we are required, the accessibility to a classroom should not really mean that we have completely devoid herself or or any other student to not think beyond the class. And that's something that I have always maintained, that one needs to have a mind of their own, and sooner the better. After class 12, we do ask the kid to have a mind of their own. But in these growing times, and it's rapidly changing with technology. And with technology, I also mean, the WhatsApps of the world, the social medias of the world. Every day there is something or the other which is brand new. And that's where we picked up the thought on homeschooling, and we thought we would be able to do a better job than probably the schools, or probably the routine classroom teaching, which still focuses on what was there in the history, what was part of the social studies, and not really let the kid learn beyond that. Because whether it is history or social studies, everything is changing because we have access to more information. With more information will come more knowledge. And with knowledge will come what is a relevant knowledge that the kids need to focus on. So it is the hunt for the relevant knowledge we decided. And of course, Arpita would be able to comment more on it.
Yes. Yes. Hi, Arpita ma'am. Hi, good morning. How are you?
Hi, very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, so how was your last 6 months? And, what are the things that have been happening with respect to your daughter's activities in the last 6 months? What are the new learnings that has happened in the last 6 months?
So, if you ask me, logistically, nothing has changed for us because we've been home. We've been So, when we decided to homeschool her, it was more like, oh, you're going to be at home. So last 6 months she has been at home, and the only thing for us that has changed is badminton has stopped, her athletics has stopped. So for us, it's largely the sports that has kind of taken a beating. Besides that, I don't know. I mean, nothing much has really changed for us. And learning wise also, I mean, I feel it has only limited the exposure to go out and do something. But otherwise, learning, I think, has been a little higher because she's doing things online, and she's doing a sketching class online, and she's doing things which, of course, had the barrier of, distance, and she had to go somewhere to learn. Now she doesn't have to go anywhere. So she did a photography course online, and she's doing sketching online. And so everything is, she's doing coding online.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So a lot of digital transformation that has happened within.
A lot of it,
yeah. Yes. Great, ma'am. I'll get back.
Whether I may like it or not, sorry. I mean, but yeah, a lot of screen time has increased.
Yes.
That's okay, yeah.
Yes, but yes, I wanted to discuss on that screen time and how it is affecting, and also how tough was it to decide to take the decision of sending her to a homeschool, or say making that self-learning is something that I wanted to discuss in the round 2 of our topic discussion. Meanwhile, Shammi sir, a very good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah. Great.
Hi, sir. I've been reading about you. You've been wearing multiple hats. So you have the film industry, and then you went to Delhi School of Economics, and now you've been trying to transform the skills. So can you just give me a quick? Can you throw us a quick light on what is Ahimsagram? I mean, what are you trying to do with Ahimsagram?
Okay.
What is the vision of Ahimsagram?
Actually, I have been, I'll connect this with homeschooling and unschooling. So I've been excited about this idea. And especially 10 years ago when I met friends in Shikshantar. So those who don't know that organization, I would really want them to check their website and their pages. So Shikshantar was set up by a friend Manish and Vidhi. And they, even when they were getting married, so this friend Vidhi put a condition, Manish put a condition that after marriage, he would not want his child to go to school, their child. And she put a condition where he was studying in Harvard, he was working in some UN job. And she put a condition, I'm ready for her to not go to school, but we have to live in India. So even before getting married, they sorted this out. They didn't want to get into this, especially Manish. So and they set up a place called Shikshantar, and I've spent 7-8 years with them. And I got attracted because I myself was, would find I was like an average student, and in school, like those who are toppers, teachers pay more attention to them. Others are just okay, they can just go on with the equation, and everybody says yes, and they move on. So it was not that exciting for me, and I wanted to take things outside, my neighborhood and things like that. So when I spent 7-8 years in Shikshantar, I met many homeschooling networks and children, and read a lot of books, like there's an interesting book by Ivan Illich called Deschooling Society. And he talks of how do we deschool the society. And it's not about school. Our society is schooled. Our families are schooled. School is where somebody else kind of does something to somebody in a prescriptive way and says that this is what you should do. That's schooling.
Correct.
So he brought a very interesting idea in the 70s, and a lot of people got inspired by him. Sorry, just Gyan. So he brought that idea of deschooling, and along with him were other people like John Holt and all. And so he also came up with this book called Instead of Education. And so all these things I read. And there's one interesting book which I would recommend, knowing Arpita and all, to kind of get it for their daughter and for themselves. It's called Teenage Liberation Handbook. So this is a story of a lot of teenagers who left school. And then parents had this idea that, they should now study, they should do, what do you want to do? And this book teaches you that, just don't like be after children, that they should now do something, they should have a plan and all those things. You say like they've been suffering this. So now let them have an open space. So I was excited about these ideas, and then I got into nonviolent communication. I moved out of filmmaking. I moved to Jaipur, my hometown, and then I got introduced to something called sociocracy. So basically the seed is in me. I am always attracted to things which are like having interdependent ecosystems, like learning as an ecosystem learning in your neighborhood, with your people, with your family, and all. So, so these ecosystem kind of things I'm always used to, and so I got attracted to the other idea of how can we run our organizations in an organic way, and then I came to sociocracy. So basically, just as our body functions, can our business, can our organization function like that? And for that, I created Ahimsagram. So I invited people to come here, and we are experimenting with self-management. So just as we want people in school to have an independent thinking, I would want people in offices to have an independent thinking. Like if we make all our decisions, like if we can decide whom to marry, if we can decide what job to take, if I can decide whether to live in Bombay or Kishangarh, then why can't I decide when I'm doing my work, which is my work, how do I do my work when a framework is given? It's not, I'm saying that I don't want to decide everybody's work. I don't want to have control over the organization. But if I'm doing something, then I should have some space. I shouldn't have a manager sitting over me. So to kind of create an ecosystem of a business, and there's a book called Reinventing Organizations. So that we are inspired by that. So we are setting up just as an unschooled business, basically, how to set up unschooled organization, where you don't infantilize people. You don't say that bacha hai, mere ko manager ko sikhana padega society.
Yes.
So for that I set up Ahimsagram, and it's a laboratory where we do business of food, but our main delivery will be very soon in 3 to 4 months on how to set up self-organized ecosystem organizations. So that's what Ahimsagram stands for.
Very interesting, sir. Very deep thoughts. I mean, I've learned a lot. Again, I'm just repeating the kind of books that you have suggested. One is Teenager Liberation Handbook, Deschooling the Society, and you've been talking about the independent thinking or the self-learning. I think this is very, very much important. I want to in fact, drive the discussion towards that.
And one more book which I would say again is like Instead of Education.
Yes.
By John Holt, which is very radical. And John Holt has written earlier a lot of books on how to improve school, but his last book was said that there is no point improving it. So you have to like really get out of it. And like just as you say that, think outside the box. So there's a quotation which says that if everybody had to think out of the box, wasn't it the box that needed the changing?
Yes. Correct.
So that's it.
Yes. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your
welcome.
Great.
Thank you for giving me that space. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. So again, Gaurav sir, a very good morning. I mean, I wanted to talk about how tough was it for you to convince Priyal, the parents, Priyal's mom, and also the principal to stop the schooling and to adapt to that homeschooling, because you are an employee. I'm sure you go for work. It's not so easy to monitor their day-to-day activities. So how tough was it?
The toughest job was to convince the man in the mirror, frankly. I mean, I actually spent like a lot of nights, I woke up sort of like dreams that, is that right or not, what we are thinking or what we are doing? But then what we decided is, I mean, we have to balance out some of those things on the practical versus pragmatic ways. She was in 8th at that time. School pressure was way too high. I mean, it was a good school, no doubt. I don't want to finger point on that. And teachers were trying, but what do you call is like the last cycle of the delivery is really broken in Indian system. You have an education system, you have a curriculum, but the way they are delivering is way too broken. So we ended up taking some of the online, we went ahead with some of the online platforms for her. And what I found is they are like, whatever she's studying in school and she has to do it again. And it's like, I just hate the tuition kind of system, but then that's what seems to be happening in a different way. And she has just no time to do any other activities and with the homeworks and with the double kind of work and all. So we thought it is in 8th. Let us try at least for 9, 10. I mean, 11th, 12th might be a little more difficult. If we have to do it, this is the time. Otherwise, we'll pass it for her. So we took a chance. We thought, worst case was like if I see my own life or your own life or Shrutidhar sir, like what is that 1 year big thing? I mean, just for few couple of quarters, it's not really when you see the whole career and how much it has impacted. And it was not going well from the school perspective. Uh, Shammi sir said, only top 4, 5 students get focus. Unfortunately, the rest of the class just sails kind of thing in a auto mode kind of thing. So we decided to ultimately first convince, difficult to convince my wife. Of course, it was as usual for any husband, but it worked out when it comes from the kids' perspective. Of course, teachers were not convinced. We have to build up the ecosystem is not that strong, so you have to really build up the whole things that what she would do from where. The language classes, some of those science and math classes, and all other things. And then, in addition to that, what would she do? I mean, it's not like for some of the kids, it might make sense if they are doing very well in sports, and you want them to make that career. And education is probably the secondary. And likewise, we didn't have that thing at that point of time. But what it enabled her is to actually have a better study in her own way, in her own space, and also start devoting time for other activities. And that's where she started going more into, I had to spend more time, my wife had to spend more time in other things, like whether it's art and craft or talking of businesses and entrepreneurship. And ultimately that started clicking up in couple of months. Of course, we have to keep a check as a parent from the perspective of how well the school studies is going. Maybe she has to go back in the schooling system or the college system for sure. I mean, we haven't really planned thus far, or how does it work. So we thought of fallback options also. But when I see a journey of last 1.5 year, I think it is far more rewarding. I mean, the language that she talks about in terms of understanding or questioning the business aspects of it, having done entrepreneurship courses, having tried to find out different business opportunities and failed into it, and identify why this does not make sense to be done now or later, kind of thing. That gives an opportunity to question the things, so I think that's the kind of thing that they need to understand, how to talk to the customers, how to interview them. So those are some of those activities what she had been doing and had been gaining a lot from there.
Yes, sir. I'll also want to understand.
It was more difficult to convince by the way family members and the neighbors.
Because that social quotient is not yet established, right? I mean, it's so tough because that comparison will always be there. That her cousins would be going to the best of the best schools, or they'd be having a lot of friends, right? I mean, the kind of social circle. Because this is the time to build your social circle, because they'll be there throughout your life. So if at all there a gap in that, right? I mean, didn't Priyal ever ask you about that I wouldn't be having any more friends, or my friend circle will be stagnant till whatever she has built till her 9th standard. So how could you answer to that?
What do you think? Okay, so I'll let Priyal to really answer that more. But fortunately, in the place there where I live, it's a huge gated community of 1,100 flats, and she has a lot of friends in the community. And school was very near, so a lot of friends are actually living in the same community. A lot of her classmates are living in the same community, so they are still friends. And as I said, a lot of her friends actually started coming for classes and other things by seeing some other things that she had been doing. She ended up building up other friend networks which are belonging to other schools because of the programs that she did for entrepreneurship or other competitions. So that actually, I think, gave her a space to widen her horizon, that what is happening in other schools, what is happening at other areas, and rather than this, it's that space is more important, I think.
Yeah, great. So Priyal, I know that you have made your community friends and all. So were there was there any comparison that 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 triggers your mind that yes, they are going to the school, like say while you are going outside, there are a lot of people climbing into the school buses, but you don't have a school. It's like this thing. So did you ever that triggered your mind that I should go back to the school?
Yeah, sometimes it used to, because I was like, no, yeah, I mean, homeschooling is not the thing. I mean, I won't be able to sit at home for the whole time and, do many different things. Although it was very beneficial for me that I found my own time. I made my own timetable that, for maths, I have to spend this much of time, and for physics, I have to spend less amount of time because I'm good at them. So, like that, because in school though we had to follow the whole schedule, that 1 hour of maths, 1 hour of physics and all that. But over here I made my own timetable. But yeah, sometimes it used to be like, no, I can't do homeschooling. It's not my thing. I have to go back to school. And because even my younger sister used to go to school when I was in ninth grade. So I was like, even I want to go out. I can't stay at home. Please, no. But then afterwards, I was like, nahi yaar. I mean, it's better to stay home, and it's better to make new friends in different events. Like I took part, like for entrepreneurship programs, I took part in Thai entrepreneurship program. So in that also I made a lot of friends, and then I also took part in a lot of fashion shows. So over there also I made a lot of friends. So my friend circle was, it was increasing, even though I was sitting at home only, but still.
Correct. I'll get back to that. I mean, about your fashion show, I think that is one of your passions that you have. I really wanted to know about that as well in the next round. So I'll quickly go to Shammi sir now. So Shammi sir, again, after listening to Gaurav sir and also Priyal's views, what are your suggestions to the kids? I mean, while they're actually comparing the students that are going to the schools and students who are doing their homeschooling, definitely there will be a lot of inclination towards either of the ways, right? School people who are going to the schools, they wanted to do homeschooling. People who are doing homeschooling, they wanted to go to the school. So how do they stabilize their thoughts? I mean, because you are a deep thinker, so I wanted to get your suggestions on that, on how a kid can actually stabilize their thoughts on the things that they've been doing.
Can you explain a little more on your question on the stabilizing? What do you mean by stabilize? So after I understand, then I can answer better.
Yeah, so Priyal wanted to, I mean, Priyal got a lot of thoughts that, after seeing few school students again going to the school, right? I mean, she also wanted to go back to the school. So during that transition time, I mean, what are your suggestions for the kids?
So they don't waver too much, or say they don't get lost and you don't get anxiety there. So there is a woman whose name is Sandra Dodd. And I think she has maybe 7 or 8 kids. She lives in US, all unschooled, I think. So she says one thing, that the number of years that you have been in institutions, and when you take a break, you should take at least 1 month per year. So if I've I've been in a 12-year school, and then 3 years college, then 2 years postgrad, then 5 years job, and now I want to like unjob. That's another word. So now I want to do that. I want to take a break. So moment I take a break, people say, but karoge kya? Kya karoge? Plan batao. Tumhara plan kya hai? So she says that for every 1 year, give 1 month. So if I have spent 18 years in institutions, then I have to spend 18 months not doing anything. That's okay.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say, that we are so Pavlovian responses, that the construct that has happened in our head. So we need to unlearn, So rather than so we have to unlearn our habits, our expectations, the idea of competition, the idea of scarcity. So it takes time, So I think the first thing that parents or children need to know, that the why behind homeschooling or unschooling. Why should they do it? And what are the values behind it? Because nobody just this homeschooling unschooling doesn't drop from the air. It's a certain mindset, certain value system, belief system. Like Arpita and Shrutidhar, if they thought, it's definitely something in their core values, some beliefs they have, or freedom, of choice, of autonomy, of creativity, of how does creativity happen, And right now I'm having this space, Ahimsagram, and there are people who come. The more schooled they are, more difficult it is to work with them for me. And now I'm thinking I should open up and create like a business school for unschoolers, because they would be more ripe for what we are doing. Because right now also while I was working, one of our team members said, oh, what should I make? What should I do? I said, now you decide. And she was lost. So this idea of, so they are so, sometimes I'm not judging in that way, but this idea of spoon feeding is so much that people are always told, do this, don't do that. And to tell a child that, okay, now you can start deciding, it doesn't mean that anarchy, they do anything, they break anything. So it's like a very self-responsible kind of freedom. And how does that happen? So any day, and I would, if anybody's, if you are having a business enterprise, I would any day want you to like pick up, if you're looking for people to join, hire, look for a lot of unschoolers or homeschoolers, and you might even find it difficult to work with them because they will not just do what you say, but if you can crack it with them, they would be like creativity, capsules or explosions,
Correct.
So I don't know whether that answers your question, but this, I just wanted to add my opinions also in it. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your opinions. So, Shrutidhar sir, I mean, again, I want to know, how did you give the ecosystem for your daughter, right? I mean, say, how did you create that ecosystem of that touch and learn kind of a mechanism, right? It's not just the learning, but also the practical implementations while they're actually learning at your home. So how did you develop that ecosystem, or how did you build that network of ecosystem?
So while I let Arpita answer this, one critical part about the last question that you had asked, Shammi bhai, is I remember my daughter Nena telling me that all she wants to do is to cook pasta at Shammi bhai's place.
Okay.
Because that gave her a lot of confidence, and she believes that even when she's about, now she's 12, but when she started going to Ahimsagram or the few times that she had gone initially, she must have been 10 and a half, and she was very happy, cooking with a live fire. Here also she cooks most of the times, she's very happy cooking her own meals. What else is required, really? She is very happy not just gardening, but planting mirchi and lauki and turai and quite a few other things that she loves.
Correct.
So really, for a kid that age, what else is required? She knows what to grow, how to grow. She takes care of all the plants. She also has those very silly posters written there, "Do not touch without my permission," and stuff like this. So I want to raise not a brilliant kid. I just want to raise a very happy kid. Just supremely happy in whatever she's doing. She decides her own time, and she's got this, again, very silly habit. And I also used to have it then when I was in school, that I was a very average student, I would have these to-do list.
Yeah.
And by the evening, when I have not really done it, I would tear it up and throw it out. And so what she does is 20 lunges, 20 burpees, and 6 minutes of running and duck walk and everything. She does it, removes it. She's very happy. So things like, I'm not able to really play that. I mean, I'm not able to go to the academy for badminton, but it is very important for the muscle strength.
Correct.
I'm very happy that she's inculcating that. Happier also because I don't want to raise somebody who's just discussing, some odd, subject or the book. This will come in on its own. This will come in. What I think I miss is the social connection.
Correct.
But she's been, and like Gaurav also very aptly answered that, yes, that is a concern. How do you develop that social connection? So what she does is, in these times, of course, everybody's on Zoom. Everybody is using the screen. So she chats with her some friends that she made in the school when we were in Bombay, and of course at places where she goes here to study this or that. She wants to pottery bit is very exciting for her.
Yeah, yeah.
So she delves into it as many number of times that she finds in the hour. So in the day, she just wants to do that and wants to cook. And I'm very happy with it. I think this is one time that she is seriously unlearning all the stuff that she shouldn't have learned in the first place, really. So that's my view on it. Of course, Arpita can add in more.
We've been talking about the 21st century skills, that are required, the life skills.
Yes, language skills, English,
Correct.
Hindi, and would she want to pick up German or Mandarin? I think Mandarin as a language will be the language of the future. And if she wants to, she's free to, of course, about a year and a half back, she would just log into one of the language learning apps and say that, oh, now I know 1 to 10. I don't know this 1 to 10. How much will that 1 to 10 recitation will help? But she's finding, earlier she was interested in French and then Spanish, and just the way kids are. Now she's trying to learn German. So, So I think, like I mentioned in the first space, I just want to raise a happy kid. That's about it.
Yeah, great. So, Arpita ma'am, so how could you build that ecosystem?
So, what Shammi might say or what I might say might be very different from what the rest of you guys will think and say, because when I decided actually to homeschool her, Shruti was really against it, because he thinks that employability is very big and this and that. So over the last one and a half years, I think he might have begun to enjoy the process of this unlearning. But my mother-in-law, who's been an educator for most part, she's been the principal of a school and everything. She said when I was talking to her that should we do this, and she said, don't even think twice. It's the best thing you'll do for her ever. So when it came from somebody who is 70 plus, who has seen the world, who's been an educator, I was convinced. I said, now Shruti, if you agree or you don't agree, we are on the same page. So it's just 4 of us in the house. It's her, then both of us, and then my daughter Naina. So then we said, you know what, Shruti, you really we just outnumbered you. I mean, if you say by experience also and by number as well. So we said, we'll do this for the next 3 years. Then we came to Jaipur. I met Shammi. And I must tell you that day she was also convinced. After she met Shammi and Laila, she said, boss, this is what I want to do. If it gets you to meet such people on an everyday basis, she said, this is. And when you were talking about a social structure, like Shrutidhar might feel otherwise, or some people might feel otherwise, but I feel that her social structure is far more stronger than mine today, because she can interact with people from 7 to 70 with the same gusto.
Yes.
We don't have it. We are very guarded. I will say, "Arey, chota bachcha usko waise treat karo. Arey, 70 years old unko waise treat karo." She has no such inhibitions at all. She is who she is. Whether you are 70, whether you are 7, she is how she is. And she cares 2 hoots about what the world thinks. And that is how I want to raise my child. Because inhibitions are what creates, later, when we grow up, like how I have grown up. I have been top of my class throughout. I've gone to the country's best college, everything. I've done like the works. He's earning the bread. He has been an average student, like he said. So I think that brilliant hoke bhi maine kya ukhada. I'm still doing like what, in the sense, I mean, so sorry about my use of words here, but I'm just saying that I have not done anything bigger than what anybody could have done. So if she has the necessary life skill, that is the skill set that is needed, not the book that went behind that skill set. Because I know my math, I know my geography, I know my history, I know all my subjects rather well. But will I have the necessary life skill? That needs brushing up. After I got married, I learned how to cook. Now that was very important for me to learn. So life skills are important. I also feel that when you talk about the comparison bit, you have to that is what I'm trying to train, or I mean, she's getting trained on her own, that she does not have to care about the comparison. And I have to also tell you, people her age, when they were looking at my daughter getting homeschooled, they were actually envious. Usko exam hi nahi dena hai, usko schooling nahi jana hai, usko homework hi nahi karna hai. Everybody wanted to be homeschooled.
Correct.
You know, in her entire friend circle, everybody kept started telling their mothers, आप हमें नैना की तरह homeschool कर दो please, हमें भी exam नहीं देना है. So the liberation that she actually, you know, that she felt was passed on to her social structure as well.
Okay. So do you generally follow the new education policies that and all come, or you, I mean, it doesn't matter for you, or do you, in fact, I mean, align with that, the new education policy? For example, if at all they say that let us introduce coding as a mandatory subject. So do you also follow that with your daughter?
I read about it. I adhere to it or not is another question. So I don't go by what the world thinks largely. I understand employability is very important. She needs to earn her bread. But so again, when I met people at Ahimsagram doing what they were doing, they're doing a fairly good job. They are employable. They are doing very well. So I think employability. So what I studied, that's not my profession today. My profession is far more creative than what I studied. I did honors in mathematics.
Okay.
None of which I actually applied, besides helping my daughter study a little bit of math today. So I could have gone ahead, but I became a food stylist, which is only to do with my aesthetic, which I saw in my environment when I was growing up. So that is a skill that I learned while growing up with my family.
Correct.
Right. So I feel that and if I had taken up math or whatever, so I'm very happy with what I earn as a food stylist on a daily basis. And I think employability also is not a question.
Interesting. Very interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much for your insights, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Can I add something here?
Please, sir, please.
So I'm enjoying what Arpita is sharing. So when she was saying कि मैंने क्या कर लिया, so I would say, Arpita, one great thing that you've done is like one of the greatest thing that you might have done is like unschooling your child or homeschooling your child. And that means a lot of unlearning that you have done, you know.
Yes.
Because if you are grown up on that, it's so difficult. And then you could have a dialogue with your husband about this. And I appreciate Shrutidhar also. And that reflects on how your relationship is, you know. That, you know, such diverse views. I've even seen marriages breaking over this, you know. So so there's a lot of appreciation. And then what you were talking about this when children taking a break and not having a social setup, you know. So to that which Arpita is saying about, you know, her daughter can be with all kinds of age groups.
Correct.
So so in the school expects that you make friends with only of your age, you know. And when I grew up in St. Xavier, not just your age, my gender is also same, you know. And when I would be in the neighborhood, में मैं अगर हमारे पीछे किराएदार थे मिस्टर दुआ, उनसे मैं hang out करता था, मेरी माँ कहती थी क्या इतने बड़ों के साथ बैठा रहता है. And then when I would be hanging out with the kids, you know, younger than me, she would say क्या happy के साथ घूमता रहता है. And every year my mother would say, you know, अब तू बड़ा हो गया, अब happy होने के साथ घूमना छोड़ दे. मैंने कहा पर मैं बड़ा हो रहा हूँ तो happy भी तो बड़ा हो रहा है, you know. और a different class of kids, ये गली के बच्चों के साथ खेलता रहता है. और मैं St. Xavier में, I was studying in St. Xavier, and then I had a complex about, like, you know, my neighborhood kids in Raja Park, Ram Gali 3, and you know, ये इनके साथ और पतंग लूटता रहता है. So all these, and now when I see, I don't know how many of my school friends I'm in touch with. I am on a WhatsApp group which I'm like not very excited, but I still can go to my street and feel more. So this idea of socializing in a such a narrow thing, which is such an unnatural thing. वो puppies के साथ कर रहा है, ये कर रहा है. So all these ideas. So I resonate with Priyal and all them. That you know, the what kind of a and the ecosystem is another word that Mr. Gaurav, no, Priyal's father Gaurav.
Yes.
The ecosystem is something very important. So we need to create ecosystems. The idea of school was an ecosystem,
correct,
but it became a narrower and narrower place. So if tomorrow, learning is about ecosystems, that's what we should create, you know, focus on that and put energy in that. Jitna paisa, energy hum dalte hain, if we spend that much energy in our neighbors, in the cycle repair shop or a potter nearby, and just to tell Arpita, you know, that please come over, I'll take you to a potter. I've discovered an interesting potter in our neighborhood. So Yeah, just wanted to share my opinions. Thanks.
So, sorry, I just want to complete. I forgot. Pavan, you were talking about coding, right? So yeah, my daughter is doing coding. I'm not gung-ho about it, but she loves it, right? So the idea is to be able to create with or without the coding. The idea is to also, when she's doing wheel pottery, I saw her struggling with one pot for months. Okay. And the teacher asked me one thing. She said, you want me to help her create as a hobby, or you want her to learn pottery? She specified these two things to me. She said, is she doing this as a hobby, or is she going to learn pottery? There's a very, very specific question, and I said, yeah, I wanted to learn pottery. She would make and break the same thing on a daily basis in that pottery class, and to be able to do that, to break something which you have made with your own hands in that 1 hour. I think that is the beauty where I just said that, this is what I want.
Non-attachment,
Sorry?
That is non-attachment, I'm saying.
Yeah. So to understand attachment or to be able to say that, yeah, this is not as nice as it should have been or whatever, and to do that with at your own accord.
Yes.
Not by an instruction, not by somebody else's judgment. कि तुम्हारे को 90 मिले, तुम्हें शायद 95 मिलने चाहिए थे, right? Yes. So accuracy is very important. Math is very important. My love for math supersedes everything else. But I also feel that the idea here is not, like Shammi said, prescriptive learning nahi honi chahiye. Learning cannot be prescriptive. It needs to come from within.
Correct.
Just the one last thing that you had asked about practical, this thing of learning. So, she was learning something about democracy. And there was something about fundamental rights and duties we were reading. We follow the NCERT pattern. Like, I like her to read everything that is NCERT, as bogus as it may sound to a lot of people. But so I say NCERT to padhi lo ek baar, so you understand ki is age ke bacche ko kya pata hona chahiye about history, geography, whatever. She does her extensive reading after that if she wants to do. So when fundamental rights and duties, so besides the textbook questions, which we don't do much, when we are reading the chapter, I gave her a question. I said, what if everybody had only rights and no duties? It was not a textbook question. So that is the application that she had to answer.
Wow.
So, that is the application of what we forget. Fundamental rights to mujhe sare hi pata hai, mujhe fundamental duties bhi sare hi pata hai. What is the application? What if I just had my rights? What if I had no duties?
Correct.
So so that's the answer that she gives, and and that is her perception. I'm not judging her. I'm not marking her for it.
But that only makes the parliament, no?
Yeah. Nice. So I think yes. So the challenge-based learning, or the practical-based learning, is also I think what you've been trying to impart. Again, Gaurav sir, you've been there in the IT industry and you've been hiring a lot of people, right? I mean, so what is one thing that you look at? I mean, do you even look at the 10th grade marks? Because we keep getting a lot of resumes. They keep, talking about their 10th grade or their senior secondary school grades and all of those. So if you find someone, who has done their homeschooling, so what would be the perception in the, say, employability sake? I mean, do you see that, they might not be having the social skills, or they might not be having that, the skills that are required from the young age? So what are your parameters while you're actually hiring the people, and what do you see in terms of the skills?
See, frankly, I would like to put up a disclaimer here. My answer might be a little biased here, because I work in a IT industry cannot be taken at like a whole industry is not same. I have always worked with the product kind of companies with far more creativity and challenging work is required as compared to services. Not to say anything wrong about services, but it's a different kind of thing. Plus, for last 10 years, I have been hiring more on the leadership side. Now, on that side, the number one thing that I definitely check for every candidate is how many times the person has failed and bounced back. What was his learning from that? And trust me, that had also been questions when I was hired by some of the good companies. So what is that learning? And more importantly, if you have to do something, if the time is given to you, chance is given to you, how would you change it? If you cannot tell, if you are not failed in the industry, if you have not failed in your life, no matter you are how brilliant and where you are bound to fail in my kind of work and company, because we are working in a pieces which nobody has done. I mean, look at the AI. I mean, nobody has built it, right? You have to fail and learn from that failure and keep moving ahead. Yes, if I am working in a given a project, that here is a project, here is the requirements I'm given, this is the scope, and you have to build. This is another customer care system that you have to build, like a customer representative system that you have to build, which has been built 10 times earlier. Fine, that is a different kind of profile. But that would that be the real need of the future? Definitely not. I mean, my 6th grade kid, when she started teaching 3rd to 5th kids science, what they actually taught me how to use couple of different apps that they can use. What is that app? That you use for this thing, for questions asking and quiz, Kahoot kind of stuff. Then she came back, hey, for Kahoot, Papa, I have to play every time. To use Kahoot, I have to give them the quiz, and during the session, I want a chat bot where the questions would come according to the answers and all. And I said, okay, damn, I have not built myself. I can't teach that aspect, but let's see. And we actually explored a couple of chatbot platforms. She actually went and did at sixth grade kid, she actually looked at LinkedIn learning, LinkedIn trainings to understand the chatbot. She actually built a kind of a chatbot that worked fairly nicely. Couldn't publish it though. So then she learned chatbot is the main aspect in that chatbot is to actually understand the interactions, what the chatbot would ask, what the other person can answer, how it would ask the next question, which is a very big learning. I mean, it's not a tech side of it. Correct. You understand? I mean, I could not have picked up. So I'm actually learning by those kids. First of all, when I was teaching to my kids and other kids, I learned how to, change my presentation style a lot. I mean, I have been doing it for corporates. I have, as you said, I have to unlearn it. Now, when they teach it, when Priyal teaches it, the kids don't want to actually have the sessions from me. Yes. The rating as a trainer, my rating is lower than what they are doing it. Yes. So now coming back to your original question, what do you look forward for today versus what would the industry would be looking forward for 10 years down the line would be very different. What we really look forward for is a kind of capability to the thinking process, the ability to learn, not only what you have learned. A lot of times it is really good to have somebody who comes with a subject matter expertise, because you get a quick go ahead. I know this industry, I know this domain, so I can pick up the things faster. But that gives you a level up to some extent. After that, it is all about your ability to learn, and that comes with your ability to interact with people, what is happening, and most importantly, question every aspect, that if this is the process, why we are doing this way? What if this? Sometimes they may fail, or they find that they were wrong in questioning or thinking that this is a wrong step, because once they understand the things behind it, they might actually agree with that. But more importantly, questioning the status quo, that is a critical aspect. And then understanding how can I empathize with the person, how can I, this is another aspect that I look forward. And that is what, when kids go and start talking to others, that building that empathy factor, that what is the problem the other person is really facing. The person might be telling something else, the reason might be something else. Getting what you call as 5 whys, getting little deeper into the insights and understanding, then you come up with some better ideas. Right. Then those ideas make sense. Otherwise, everything is in the air, whether it is about, on any of the aspects. So, I mean, I can give you a quick example. So, for some time, our water filter was not working and we had been buying the water bottles. So my wife had been every time, sending that guy on the WhatsApp and then following on the phone and then again and again doing, and then that guy delivers and then sometimes paying by cash, sometimes by Paytm and all. So they said, why don't we actually make a mobile app for that? Why every time you have to go on WhatsApp and do all that stuff? And I said, okay, I don't know how to, as a technology, I'm a product management side. I have left the real development side of for a while. I don't know how to teach that, but they connected with some of my ex-colleagues. I just connected with them, they talked, and then they actually built up on a platform. They actually made a mobile app within almost how much time?
Wow.
I think less than half an hour.
Okay, no, less than half an hour was a mobile app only, but to really build the whole solution, it took you like one and a half week.
Yeah.
So all I guided them is, you are not going to make the app directly. You have to first really show me the prototype or a way how it would interact. What are the users? Who would be the one using? It would be a customer, it would be a delivery boy, it would be a guy in the shop. And then they started thinking and all that. And then they came with what all interactions would be required. And ultimately, they made it a mobile app, which is published now. And it works from the customer side and for the delivery, not for the shop guy at this moment.
Great.
For me, when I was in like 10th grade, come on, what is this? What are we talking about? I was probably, reading Super Commando Dhruv.
Yes.
I don't know, of you, Shrutidhar sir. Or usse thoda pehle tak I was reading Chacha Chaudhary's, right? So the thing is, it helped them to understand what is inventory, what is there in the inventory, and understand those aspects which might be required, and not by teaching, by themselves through that.
Yes.
So
The
learning
challenge
those aspects.
Converting a problem into an opportunity is something that I think I've seen a lot from the kids these days.
Yeah.
And the kind of the guidance that you've been giving, I'm sure they'll come up with many more apps like that, or many more opportunities like that. So we've been getting some questions. The first question that I've got from Mr. Rajshekhar, so is asked, Mr. Shammi is asking, what are the certain parameters to check if the homeschooling is working for their kids? What are the certain parameters to check if the homeschooling is working for the kids?
So I guess, I've never thought of it, but one is that I guess the people who are doing unschooling, they can design their own metrics based on what they want to achieve by homeschooling. So, and if I was to see, I would say, are children able to take their own independent decisions? Are they okay? As Mr. Gaurav said something really beautiful about failing and bouncing back. Are they okay to fail? Or is the collapse of things, something goes wrong?
Yeah.
Some of these things I would say.
Yeah. Great. So Shruti sir, what is your opinion on that? What are the parameters to check if the homeschooling is working? Did you have certain parameters on your own that they'll have to achieve certain things in particular quarter or in a year or something like that?
And not that this is directly related to homeschooling, unlearning or unschooling. All I wanted was rather selfishly to spend a lot of time with my kid, and not seeing her burdened by books or by just writing something that somebody else in the school, the teachers, and they were lovely at the school that she went to, would just check a yes or a no, and an 8 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 would decide whether my kid should be happy or the kid should feel a little less happy or feel bad about if she's got about 7 out of 10. That was the only aim, really. I had my doubts, because whether you like it or not, it's a competitive world. And if not doing well, just earning the, plain Jane bread is also a challenge these days. So all I wanted was the kid to do well so that she can really earn the bread. And now, of course, as far as the matrix are concerned, I have no pre-designed matrix. Again, All I want us to, have a lot of fun, whatever she's doing. For example, she delves into, like I told you, a couple of things, and she's very happy doing it. If I ask her to play badminton, she's okay to spend 3 hours in it. Of course, उसकी हालत खराब हो जाती है उसके बाद, मतलब ये हालत हो जाती है कि वो उठ भी नहीं पाती, बोलती नहीं मुझे बस घर ले जाओ types. But I want her to play as much as possible and not really get troubled. She doesn't like not being able to do something. For example, she doesn't like if उसका पास्ता शमी भाई वाले पास्ते से थोड़ा खराब हो जाता है. But that's what I want her to do. To really find happiness in every little part that she is doing and not being bogged down by all the pressures that probably I had, probably Arpita had, and just about everybody who's gone to school has had. For example, like Shammi mentioned, that the colony friends.
Yeah.
So I used to give her a lot of stories, when I would put her to sleep. So there were 5 essential characters in this story. Sonu, Bunty, and Kanhaiya Prasad, and Radri Prasad, and one more fictional character I had created. And everything that I have done ever while growing up, she knows every bit of it. So she would ask me, so Kanhaiya Prasad would also do that, and Kanhaiya Prasad is a fictional character, but all the others are not. So, and through these stories, I had given her a lot of inkling of how I grew up and all. और उन्हीं स्टोरीज में कहीं ना कहीं कोई एक लाइफ लेसन है कि अगर आपको दाल बाटी बनानी नहीं आ रही राजस्थान में रह के, तो आप एक्चुअली कर क्या रहे हो, then she would try that. और अधिकांशतः at the increasing speed with which the kids grow these days, if you lose that kind of a story, then there is no chance for this story being repeated any point in time. And then they would only, you can only feel nostalgic about these stories, but you cannot give any lesson to the kids out of those stories. And I'm not saying that the lesson is the lesson. The idea is to bond. The idea is to generate enough confidence in the kid that at least I know more stuff about it. For example, now she's on a project to put in every little story connected to my mom, like her dadi. So वो अपना camera, अपना tripod, लेके सुबह दोपहर शाम, whenever she gets a chance to sit with my mom, उसको document कर रही है. I don't know, हमारी mother के साथ मथुरा के अंदर पड़ोस की sweet shop पे, whether I used to, as a Mathura born, I used to get sweets for free or not, but she knows it. Now she's editing all the memories of, my father or mom के साथ जो भी हुआ बढ़ते वक्त, and she went to a great school, a great college, and she had a very responsible career as a principal of a large girls' school. वो सब चीजें document, which I have not done it.
Yeah.
And and I regret that I have not done it. But then she's, she thinks that this is very important. All of it was her idea. So my matrix is that I want a kid who's very happy.
Happiness.
Not part of the bhed chal. वो नहीं चाहिए.
Just one thing which I'm picking up from what Shrutidhar is saying, that as a parent, are you growing and are you having fun? I think that's also a good question.
Totally. Shammi bhai, totally.
Right. The happiness quotient is something that is very important. Great. So we have one more question from Kritik. Kritik is asking, even when homeschooling is good, would you say that a formal education can still be a good tool for learning when done right? I think Gaurav sir, I think you can answer this.
What is when done right? Of course it is good. I mean, we are not against that. I picked up only my elder child first for the homeschooling. Yet younger one was still going in the school. We picked her up also for homeschooling this year when Corona came, in March, and we decided that we are not going to be sending from the security reasons, for safety reasons, to do that. And our our experience had been till then had been a little mixed bag. It really picked up later. The thing is, schools have its own values, or institutions have got built with time and period. They have sustained and they have their own values. But is it still sufficient enough what you require for in a kid for 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line? Or not just 10, what I'm talking that 10, 15 years is a job matrix. Even otherwise, from the life perspective, is that sufficient enough? I would say definitely not. You have to find the ways, one have to find the ways how to bring those in. Either some of the schools can get it. Sometimes there are a lot of after school programs that are getting you in. Sometimes you take a drastic step to say, okay, I as a parent have to take control. I cannot rely on these institutions or the ones that are nearby. I believe I am better equipped, and I will take my time and effort to do that. And that's where you jump into homeschooling. So it's not like one versus another is what I'm trying to say. Then another aspect, like Shrutidhar sir just talked about the happiness thing. This very important aspect. I mean, I want to just quote an example. At this moment, all the schools are more or less doing online schooling. My friend's kids in our apartment, they get up, they get ready and dressed in the school dress and box themselves in a class from 8 o'clock. If they don't log in before 8, the attendance is not there. Parents get all that thing. 8 o'clock to 2:30, they are boxed in a room. Really? And what we are doing at this moment, at least jab se open up hua hai, tab se we have been going almost 3 to 4 days a week. It's a great weather in Hyderabad. I'm from Hyderabad right now. It's every morning, almost every morning, 3 to 4 times a week, we are going out on rocks. Kids are actually studying there. So they have a dedicated 3-4 hours in the open environment on a rock under the tree in no screen kind of study. It's weird, right? I mean, the people who are doing homeschooling are actually making also sure that they have a no screen time, and those who are doing the schooling are actually having a screen time all the way from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and after that the homeworks and all that stuff. What's going on? And I'm enjoying that. All 4 of us go at 6:30 ke aspas, and with the breakfast, standard breakfast ready, and go around it. We go for a walk. They sit, they walk, they eat. We come by around 11:30. They have like really finished up their chapter happily. Is that not as a parent sufficient enough? Kitna
Great. I'm a lot to learn.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
Right? I mean, Jaipur, can people not drive down around 30 kilometers on a sand dune?
Oh, yes. No sand dunes here, but 30 kilometers.
I mean, I know I saw my Jaipur 15 years ago, unfortunately. I know.
Brilliant.
But
yeah, it's beautiful.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So that's our current, I mean, somebody was saying, the question was, look at this. What is a metric? You cannot have a metric. Shammi gave a great point. I mean, I was doing a math behind that. How many years versus how many months? I don't know how many months is probably approximately correct. As I said, our results started showing after a couple of months. But the thing is, what did we do? What did our kids do when they were already homeschooling? During COVID period, or a time which was a complete surprise for the whole world, versus what other kids are doing. Is that not a sufficient enough metric or a result to showcase? The world is going towards a period where you would have more and more unforeseen, unknowing things that would be coming. Let's take that. That would be the future. You have to be every time learning something new. Nobody had in the world had ever thought of or experienced the kind of thing of Corona. So now how do you react to it? You can't fight it. You can't just avoid it, but you have to adapt to it. How you would be able to adapt is what you have to learn. And how our kids are able to do that versus other kids is what is, I would say, as a result to one to watch.
That's why I've read this somewhere. I mean, it's not the new normal; it's the next normal that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a normal. You like it or not. we are getting towards global warming. I mean, everybody has forgotten that aspect. That calamity is getting prepared to come.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Gaurav, sir. I would like to, conclude this with asking one question to Arpita ma'am here. Ma'am, I mean, again, I just want to conclude the topic, right? I mean, should homeschooling be encouraged? So that is the whole topic here. So, what are your individual views on it? I mean, considering all tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities that are there in India. So, with the current environment, with the current pandemic that has happened and all. So, overall, so what is your view on that? I mean, should homeschooling be encouraged?
Encouraged, yeah, I mean, it should be the only way, because once you homeschool or unschool, so Shammi is also a proponent of unschooling. I am still homeschooling. That requires far more courage to unschool, but homeschooling should be encouraged, or it should be the only option. Like you were talking about education policy, should be a part of the education policy, because there is deeper learning. I believe there is more constructive learning. There is no if I may give you the example of a friend who said that your daughter needs to be if you're not sending her to school. She almost fought with me. She said, you don't get to take that call without us agreeing. She's a very dear friend of ours. And she told me, she said, how will she deal with bullying at a later stage? School mein to wo seekh jayegi. I said, am I preparing my child to be bullied later? She should learn right now. What are you talking? And I had to tell her, I said, I want to actually, in my head, I am thinking that people like my daughter will create a world which is more loving. There should be no bullying in the larger scheme of things. What are we talking about? You're sending your child to school so that you're able to cope with bullying. So I feel that homeschooling, yes, my child is being looked after on a daily basis, but why wouldn't I do it? Why would I trade it for anything else? So, homeschooling, according to me, encouraged. Oh yes, definitely. That's an emphatic yes. It should be encouraged. We also thought that 6th, 7th, 8th में हम homeschooling करके देखेंगे. शायद नहीं हुआ तो हम वापस भेज देंगे. No, she's not going back to a school. She doesn't want to go back to a school. Right now, if I tell her एक जगह बता दो जहाँ तुम्हें जाना है, वो कहेगी मुझे Ahimsagram छोड़ाओ एक दिन के लिए.
Yes.
So, and nobody her age in Ahimsagram. She is petrified of dogs, but the dogs at Ahimsagram, which are like almost like street dogs, she's not scared of any dog at Ahimsagram. Everywhere else, she's petrified of dogs. There, she will go up to the terrace. She will take people who are my friends. She will say, "Chalo, मैं आपको ऊपर दिखा के लाती हूँ. Garden है, वहाँ पे ये सब्जी उग रही है." So I'm saying the liberation is outside of school.
Correct.
And I'm not putting any school down. I went to a very, very good legacy school. And it gave me like something like a finishing school thing, if I may say. But larger than that, there was a lot of things. There were a lot of things that I had to unlearn even when I went from school to college. College was a culture shock. So there we dealt with it. Then postgrad was another different. So every step there was unlearning happening, which is important. So yeah, I mean, emphatically, yes, homeschool should be encouraged.
So, if I would answer this question with a pinch of humor and salt, I would say that I would rather be a missionary teaching unschooling, talking about unschooling. And some of my friends have branded me like that also. So, I studied in St. Xavier School, which is a missionary school. I think it's time for us to have missions on unschooling. I mean, not to force people, but I mean, to convert people. And, so that's why some of us are very dangerous. If you hang out with us, sometimes we say कि हमें शुरू में धर्मांतरण के लिए अंदर पकड़ के ना डालते हैं ना, तो ध्यान रखना आप. So that's it. So you are also part of this. This program is doing some dangerous work, I'm telling you. Okay, that's it.
Shammi, just to actually give evidence, after us this year, 6 of our parents in our apartment have decided to homeschool. Maybe Corona is the major reason whatsoever. But sometimes खून लग जाता है ना शेर के मुंह में, so you never know.
I hope you don't come under religious conversion bill, be careful.
Yes. So, I mean, Gaurav sir, I mean, would you even encourage home colleging?
You never know. There are two type of things. So, she is actually doing some of the certifications which are actually for college grads. There
Yeah,
are
yeah,
some part of it she has been able to do. The point is we have to understand what really is the
Yeah.
purpose. If the
correct.
purpose is to learn, does it matter? Or
Yeah.
is the purpose is to have a certificate? If even the certificates are coming nowadays, let's leave that aside. But
Yeah.
if the purpose is really the knowledge, I mean, what did we learn from that movie, Three Idiots? Is it really the degree of ID which you are falling, running for, or is it really the knowledge that you are gaining? That if that is the case, I see, maybe not all the streams, maybe not all the things, but a lot of those things can actually need not be can be done from home.
Yes.
We are working from home, man. We are building one of the best softwares from home. What are you and running the businesses?
Yes.
What are you talking about? What cannot be learned from home? I see no reason. But yes, there are a lot of other things you have to. You don't need to. You can't. Unlearn the human interactions that you have to have it. So
Yeah.
you have to have those other things, non-online human interactions and those learnings. But for that, do you really require to be in the school only, in the college only? Are there not other channels to do that, or better channels to do that?
So I
So
Can
just
I?
if we are not understanding the very purpose of what we are doing it, we'll just keep doing it.
Yeah.
That is, whether you are in the corporate, if you are not understanding the purpose or objective behind it, you will just keep doing that. If you're not purpose doing it in home, you are just doing a ritual. Please.
Correct. Yes.
I
I
would
mean,
like to say one small thing, if it's okay. So learning, you're saying, Gaurav, learning is not synonymous with schooling. That's
Yeah.
what even I think. There is no.
yes.
Totally agree. I agree.
So
That's what
I just want to. Can I take 1.5 minutes or so? I mean, how are we with time? Are you okay? Are we tight?
Yeah, we are fine.
Okay.
Not
So
a
there's a
problem.
framework I can give which might be very useful for parents who are doing and for children also. So
Please.
after hearing Arpita and Gaurav, I think what the word that I would like to give here is like purpose-driven learning. Rather than calling it unschooling or homeschooling, we should call it like what I'm doing is a purpose-driven learning. Like we have a purpose, and in nonviolent communication, there is one very interesting thing which might again be useful to make a differentiation between a need and a strategy.
Yeah.
So oftentimes when we are not aware, we confuse the need with the strategy, and that's a big slavery. So we need to uncouple the need and strategy. So and whenever somebody talks to you, go back, take them to the need, what is the need? And this will give another answer, because I'm reading a lot about self-managed businesses. And there's this book called Reinventing Organizations, which I would recommend, anybody who's doing business to read that. So in which, or in another book I was reading, the person was talking about assembly line. So school is an assembly line, basically. So why did the assembly line come? So there was a purpose in it. Two kind of things. One was that, actually, I'll skip this part. This is a longer thing, but why did the manager come? So they say when 1811, when the railroad was being constructed, or when the steam engine came to Bombay, nobody knew. Very few people knew how the steam engine will be running, or how this would be created, how industrial revolution was going on. So the scientists, the technicians, some very few people knew. So that time, knowledge was very concentrated. So nobody knew the whole picture. So they could say, okay, you make this part, you make this part, you make this part. And to connect all those parts, you needed a manager. You needed somebody who knew the whole picture. And especially after hearing to Gaurav. So if that was but right now, the anybody can know the whole part, Priyal can understand. I mean, she has access to these Coursera or other things or other, there is, so I think Karl Marx was very very relevant when he talked of productive forces and production relations. What is the technology, that creates the relationship? So now the technology has changed. We are not in the same railroad kind of a zone. Now, when everybody has access, actually, that's why managers are really becoming redundant. That's why self-managed companies, and so naturally,
if I had unschooling, I am also into self-healing. I made a film also. I don't know whether Arpita and anybody has seen it. It talks of unschooling, self-healing, and natural farming. And it all talks from the place of Fukuoka. And the film's name is Leap of Faith. If you put Leap of Faith Shammi Nanda, you will get it on YouTube. It's a 51-minute film where I studied 3 families. So idea was that if, there is a certain genetic disposition for learning also. Just as a dog knows how to eat food or how to bark or how to protect. And so I'm just saying we have lost that thing. We have forgotten that learning is a natural act in our thing, and we've imposed a whole new thing on that, So we need to, so in today's time, it's even more redundant to have this form of school, I would say. So we need forms of learning. We need ecosystem forms of learning. We need access to information. We need safety, like children. And John Holt has written another book called Escape from Childhood. He said, it's not my child's problem that the road is not safe, Right. So if you give your daughter that safety, give her the money, do whatever you want. And, I even set up a business when I was in around class 6 and all. But I didn't have the courage to tell my parents that I was doing this business. I was running a book library with a friend.
Correct.
So I'm just saying, if these kids are given the scope, they will be CEOs right now, Like after hearing this, I'm so attracted to like Priyal coming and working for Ahimsagram or working from there and making our website, or Arpita and Shrutidhar, your daughter also doing things. And I'm really super excited to run our food business. One part, she can be one part, set up a whole food cart or something and food truck leke jaye wo, main to bahut khush hounga, So yeah, so this framework of purpose-driven learning, need and strategy, and the times have changed. So we are not in the 1811 railroad system. So let's not be blind, that's all I'm saying.
Yes.
I would like to add again to Shammi's point that purpose-driven learning, right? Just that example that they found a purpose that, hey, this water delivery is not working. They themselves went and talked to people, to the delivery boy, to other technology guys, to learn the technology, learn some of the aspects of the business, inventory management and all, rather than we teaching or somebody teaching at some point of level. That's exactly what is required. So having that understanding of how to learn is more important than just that learning, because every time it would be a new thing. And if it is not every time new thing, then what is it that you're learning? What's exciting also?
And also having the trust that, we are dealing with human beings who have the same divine energy as anybody else. Let's not infantilize them. Let's not put in these boxes. And what you said earlier, they were in that box. Now we give them another box in the box. You watch the screen, and children are being told, put on your screen, don't switch on the screen, because they don't really want to. So it's like, so trusting that their power. So how do we give full power to human beings? And we are working on 10% of, even 5% of our power, our people in the offices or whatever. So it's going to really unleash an explosion of power if people can get in touch with their, their own creativity and inspiration.
Like Pavan, you in the beginning you said, right, not every kid can be like a Priyal. I would connect to
every
that.
kid can be like that,
is as a parent, am I trusting my kid to be something?
Right.
Do you trust the school? I mean, I'm again not against teachers and schools, but do you at least trust your own kids, their potential, or not?
Correct. So, I mean, lot of takeaways from this session. I mean, it was a wonderful discussion. I still wanted to, continue this further, but again, we have some more live sessions coming up. But I really wanted to continue this discussion. Probably I'll host, depending on everyone's availability. Definitely, we can take some more questions, and then we can definitely answer the questions. We still have more questions coming up. But the beauty of this video sessions are, it lives on. You can go to our Facebook, or you can go to our YouTube. You can access to the content that has been discussed today. Once again, thank you, Shammi sir. I mean, your insights were amazing. The kind of references that you have given, and also the leap of faith. I'll also suggest to our students to watch that. Watch that video, and also the books that you have actually, suggested. Also, I'll be sharing it with our students. And also Shrutidhar and Arpita ma'am, it was amazing discussions with you. and also convey our regards to your daughter. And I hope a lot of learning that happens through this, during this time. And also, Priyal, anyways, we'll catch up. A lot to talk about your modeling, also your passion. We couldn't talk about it, but yeah, if anything is there, please share it with us. And Gaurav sir, thank you for your insights. It was amazing. A lot of insights that you have shared with us on the IT perspective. And also, one thing that we all must learn from you is the kind of exposure that you are giving. That one suggestion that we all can learn is, that nature, that environment, and also the way you've been taking your kids to outside, and having that open learning, open space learning is something that we'll also try to suggest to some of the parents. All right. So overall, it was a wonderful Sunday. You guys made my day, and I'm looking forward for many such discussions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Shammi.
Thank you,
Great.
guys.
Thank you.
Please, we'll connect. Yeah.
Definitely,
So,
definitely.
see
Stay
all of
safe.
you.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
And I appreciate your facilitation, because also how you created that space which could really bring up these deep things, and there was a conscious movement. So I think I'm appreciating your skills. You should be proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Pavan.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Shammi.
everyone.
Bye,
Thank you.
Priyal.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Arpita. Bye, Shruti.